I'm Caleb.
And we're here to let you know that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is...
No perfect movie, but it's still pretty groovy. Just wait and you will see.
So Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 takes place about a couple months after the first film, so it still takes place in 2014. And the Guardians are still a team, but they're wondering if they can actually cooperate with each other and keep doing missions together. And during a mission that goes terribly, terribly wrong, they crash land and bump into Ego, the living planet, played by Kurt Russell, who just so happens to be Peter Quill's father. And as they spend more time with him trying to build a connection between him and Peter, they learn that he has very mysterious motivations relating to the safety of the galaxy. All the while, the Guardians also have to help out Yondu, once again played by Michael Rooker, when he's taken over from the Ravengers who lead a mutiny against him. And the leader of these mutineers, we're not even kidding when we say this, folks. His name is Taserface, played by Chris Sullivan.
Right at the beginning, I thought that the fight with, what was that alien?
It was some kind of giant octopus.
I keep wanting to, I don't know why the word comes.
It shot up
parallax, I don't know. Like, that's obviously not.
Well, I don't know for sure, but I mean.
But parallax, I don't know.
Me neither.
What's wrong with me? But
don't worry.
Like the effects for him when he had some sort of what was he doing, like a fire breath?
I don't know. I guess it was some kind of. It kind of stunned them. It didn't really do that much to them.
I mean, they don't really need to go into detail about what exactly that is all about, but it did well. Like for me, and I was
like the textures.
It's a lot of eye
really
candy.
Good.
It was a lot of eye candy.
There is so much eye candy in this movie,
and it's very colorful. And that just, I mean, I knew right then that like I was going to be taken aback.
Yeah, like the opening sequence is a long take set to a very awesome ELO song, Mr. Blue Sky. I love that song. And once again, Baby Groot doing his Baby Groot thing.
Oh, man.
And, like, you're right, there is a lot of eye candy, and I think James Gunn does a better directing job in this movie than he does in the first one.
Do you think so?
Yeah. In my opinion, yeah, because I think there are actually a lot of really stylish camera angles, because, like, there was one fight scene on top of Yondu's ship where it involves him and his whistling arrow.
Oh, that's what I was thinking.
And there are so many really cool shots. There's like a God's eye view that shows how the arrows are hit. There's like where they fire a gun through the wall. You see like through the hole of the wall their face as they
their heads every
and like
expression
and these shots just look so well composed, so stylish. And you're right, there are a lot of vibrant colors.
Yeah.
Even in, like, these darker scenes, there's, like, a shade of orange or pink that still has a little bit of brightness to it.
Yeah, they really get to play around with all that when it gets to Ego's, when they get to Ego's crib.
Yeah, there are there's actually a lot of creepy imagery in this movie, and I'm not just talking about Ego, although when you see him in his living planet form, like he is in the comics, where you see the eyes and the mouth, it actually looks pretty unsettling.
It does. It took like when I think they were showing, they had a shot of the planet, like, you know, being away from the planet, and then I was like, is that a face? Is it though? And then I realized, okay, that's
and like the way that
pretty cool, like,
and the way that he projects himself and the way he like reconstructs his face. Yeah. That was also really weird, because, like, they start from scratch, where he's just, like, a skeleton, and it's just, like, ugh. And, like, no, but...
Yeah, very true, yeah.
And there's even some darker imagery involving the Ravagers, which I will not spoil, but when you're watching those sequences where they're getting rid of certain people, it is just painful to watch, and, like, in a good way.
I wonder, what is the death count?
Oh, and just that one scene alone, that is like dozens. And like, I felt bad for that one actor, because if you're a fan of Sons of Anarchy like I am, Tommy Flanagan, who plays Chibs, shows up for a few minutes. And I'll just say this, you're gonna feel so sad for him. But yeah, and the effects are actually just as good, if not a little bit better. Like, Rocket Raccoon still looks like a legit raccoon. And like... Whereas the first movie where...
changed there, yeah.
Whereas the first movie, he does a lot of, like, walking on twos like a normal human being would. You actually get to see him move around like an actual...
And then he's jumping around on those trees.
Yeah, and he kind of mauls people. And, like, he's actually fully sort of embracing the raccoon part.
I'm not a raboon.
I am Groot. Okay, raccoon, whatever. And, of course, we can't forget Awesome Mix Volume 2. It lives up to the name, man.
Yeah.
And one thing, we saw this with a couple other friends. I was talking with those friends afterwards, and I kind of noticed that Awesome Mix Volume 1 and Volume 2, they pick songs that have, like, the same... They're all about the same theme. Because, like, in the Awesome Mix Volume 1, it's a lot of songs about love and being together with someone. Because when you look at it, like, Hooked on a Feeling... Ooh, Child. Yeah. Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Spot on with
Pina Coladas.
Oh, yeah.
That was in only for like a few seconds.
Yeah.
And like there was a deleted scene where that prison guard who stole the Walkman is dancing to It's Magic while tasering a guy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's magic.
I don't know why I don't have that song on my phone.
I don't have it on my Spotify either, but I'm going to after this. And I'm going to get, like, the majority of this soundtrack.
Yeah.
And it falls along with the exact same theme of, like, where some songs are, like, they're about to split apart, but they get together in the end. Especially The Chain by Fleetwood Mac. Because, like, those lyrics alone stick to that theme.
Yeah.
Which is why it mattered so much for James Gunn to include that song in the movie. And it plays it twice during very pivotal moments. The first time where they're splitting up and you think that things have been a little uneasy. And then the climax where they band together and it's just awesome to watch.
Yeah. I can tell that they really thought out the soundtrack and the background music and such for this.
Like the background music...
like Guardians of the Galaxy... They sort of capitalize on the music that they use and stuff like that, which is cool because, and I always like listening to soundtracks and
absolutely
and, instrumentals and background music and such.
Well, like listening to the music
score and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you can tell these guys are definitely not just picking any song from their frickin' their phone.
Yeah, because like James Gunn would not stick any song in if it didn't fit. Because there were times that he was going to put in there, but it just didn't fit with the scene, or the scene just didn't work, and he cut it.
Exactly.
And that's real dedication. He's really thinking hard about how these songs can affect the story.
Exactly.
Because like when people think, oh, like these movies use soundtracks that have like a lot of songs that we've heard of before, you still have to put a lot of thought into it. Like even the Deadpool soundtrack had that theme of love. Because like with Calendar Girl, that song by Wham, I can't remember it, I'm sorry. And of course Shoot, which...
The Christmas song by Wham?
No, the one where it's just like, I'm never gonna dance away than the way I dance with you.
I've never heard that one.
Me neither. I've never really heard the Wham.
Maybe you don't want to.
Or,
I don't know. Is it good? Was it good? I can't remember.
The song was good. Like, it played over the credits, and then Shoop just played on, which, again, Shoop, that technically fits. I mean, it's more sexual, but that comes with it.
Yeah, but I thought that was cool,
Yeah, absolutely. And, like, listening... One thing I've heard comparisons about, and this is really true, when you look at the music and the character interactions in this movie, I sat there and just thought, this is like Marvel's version of Cowboy Bebop. Like, really think about it. Like, very eclectic music and characters...
That's an interesting perspective.
Who clash together.
I'll take that.
Yeah, like characters who clash, but they stick together because they're all lonely and they need someone in their lives. Or or like a group of people in their lives.
Yondu there, he became a bit of a pal to the Guardians, and he became a Guardian there.
I gotta be honest, some of my favorite scenes, if not my favorite scenes in this movie, were all because of Michael Rooker as Yondu.
Yeah,
he feels like a much more fleshed out character because in the first one,
gave him some glory here.
In the first one, you got that vibe that he's like that guy who acts tough, but he has this soft side you don't really see. Because like you got that with the fact that he kind of left Peter off the hook. He let him escape with the orb, and he was fine with getting that little troll doll. Because he, like, just smiled at him. These Ravagers are right. He is lenient to Peter and no one else.
Yeah. No, I know.
And you can kind of, which is another thing, you can kind of understand why these Ravagers would want to, like, take over and do things their way.
Yeah, because he's sort of, I mean, they don't like change, right? They're not a sort of a...
Well, like, some of them did.
I mean, Ravagers, yeah.
Some of them did. Like, Kraglin, who, by the way,
like
Sean Gunn doesn't have a lot to do in this movie, but he does improve as Kraglin.
Yeah.
Because, like, I didn't mind him in the first one, even though he doesn't really do much. Like, Sean Gunn's main thing was, like, doing the motion cap for Rocket. Mm-hmm. Which is another thing. Yondu and Rocket have some really good scenes together, and you get the...
Yeah.
There is a connection between the two of them, because they both have really similar personalities.
And they work well, right? They play off each other.
Yeah, and they both have this really dickhead personality to hide the fact that...
But then, see, it was interesting that even Yondu was like, he wasn't as, as cold for a minute there. He's like, are you always, such a douche? Like...
Yeah, and
it's a Rocket, and
he even has that moment where, like, someone just snaps and, like, flatly tells Rocket who he is as a person, that he just doesn't know it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I know because I've been there, and you really buy that. Mm-hmm. And, like, I don't want to give away Yondu's backstory, because they don't really go into super detail on that, but they give enough to make you think, okay, I can understand why you have no problem stealing from people, or... getting cheap, meaningless sex from yellow sex robots. Were those sex robots?
Oh, yeah.
They seem kind of genetically modified.
Well, they turned off.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, the first scene with Yondu is like this really kind of artsy scene where he's just like looking at out of a window, and he's got this really sad face.
I started to question how much this is for kids. The first one sort of I feel like
the first one I can see kids watching, but like there was still a little bit of dirty humor in there. Still.
Oh yeah, but I feel like this one they took it a little bit farther. Not that much. Not that much farther, but well, they did take it up a notch. Like
yeah,
he just finished fucking a robot.
Yeah, like it is soft core, and you don't really see it. You don't see anything, but either way.
Yeah, there's...
Which is another thing.
It feels like it's... and then again, like, just not on, like, that much of a larger scale.
I can see
it. But definitely, I was like, oh, man, my brother cannot see this. And then I was like, oh, you know what?
There are parts he can watch.
You know what? He could get away with seeing this, I'm sure.
Because he's still got his pants on.
It was up and down with me for a second there. Just saying,
I never really... Well, I don't have siblings that are, like, that age, so I can't really identify with that. That's but fair. I can see what you mean. Yeah. And the Ravagers were actually surprisingly comedic, but still kind of threatening villains.
Yeah.
Sort of, because, like... They do have the really messed up faces. The makeup on them is really impressive. I feel bad that Chris Sullivan had to sit in for like 3 or 4.5 hours just to put all that makeup on him. But Chris Sullivan was actually pretty good as Taserface. And to be clear, yes,
serious
some of the best jokes centering around Taserface have to do with his name. And they're very juvenile, very adult-centered humor, and they work pretty well. So much so that the other Ravagers actually laugh at their own leader. Which is good, because, like, I don't know, is it me, or is this just, like, another version of Captain Hook, where, like, he's kind of threatening with his appearance and the stuff that he does, but he's also funny and just...
Yeah.
How goddamn stupid he is.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's a good comparison.
Because, like, he tries to intimidate everyone, and sometimes they just cheer blindly, and then one guy points out something smart, and it's just like, well, I don't care. They'll root for me anyway. Isn't that right, guys?
Wow.
Yeah. Please don't kill me.
Might as well have said that.
And Kurt Russell also.
Yeah.
Like,
I really believed that they were,
Yeah, because, like...
It's just...
Yeah, you definitely believe that he is Peter Quill's dad. And Chris Pratt, once again, good job as usual. If you're a fan of Chris Pratt's style of humor, like, if you don't like Chris Pratt, you're not gonna like him at all. In fact, you might like him a little bit less than you did in the first one, because his emotions really play to him in this one. Because, like, in the first one, it's just like, there's this orb, we gotta sell it. Oh, by the way, you guys are cool. There's some similarities. We're all losers. We've all lost stuff.
Yeah.
But here, like, there's an actual connection between the two of them. And he goes through the same emotions that you would expect from a situation like this. First, he's pissed off at the fact that he wasn't there in his life. And then, during this really weird scene that involves the two of them playing catch... I'm making this sound stupider than it actually is, believe me. You can actually feel like a bond. And plus, Kurt Russell does speak kind of like Chris Pratt, but also has this intellectual ability, and his powers are really cool and make him an intimidating presence. And, like, even in a couple scenes where he does go a little bit too over the top, it still felt a little bit threatening in just the way that he has such a commanding voice when he says all those things, and when you look at his expressions, you really believe the fact that he's in the moment, he believes exactly what he's saying.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah, that's totally true.
And as for the other really interesting dynamic that I liked was between Drax and Mantis, who is played very well by Pom Klementieff, I think is how you say her name.
Is she Asian?
Apparently she's a little bit French too, but I believe she's an Asian girl. I've only seen her in the Old Boy remake where she was like the villain's henchman. She was nowhere near as cool as the henchman from the first one, but to be fair, it's not her fault. She wasn't given that much to do. But in this one, she has a lot to do, and if you thought Drax was just awkward and how he did not understand a damn thing, she's gonna make Drax look like the cool kid in high school.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, she's a little bit gullible and naive, and Drax actually pranks her a couple times to get his kicks.
Like a fucking lizard or whatever that thing was.
No, like, there's this one scene where, like, they're sitting by a campfire, and she looks at Rocket and goes, "May I pet your dog?" And he's just like, yes, you may. And then Rocket tries to bite her, and he just goes,
Oh, it was Rocket. Okay.
Yeah, she was petting Rocket.
Oh, okay. I thought it had some. I remembered differently.
Yeah, and that was the other thing I really liked, is that both of them are very socially awkward. They can kind of explain to each other how different social norms work. And I like the fact that her powers can help her understand what a person is going through.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's that one scene where she just grabs onto him and she feels the sadness that he thinks about his wife and his daughter. And then she starts crying because she can feel it. And it's just like, you know, if you had, like, a normal life, this would be beneficial for so many people. And you feel bad for the fact that even though she was technically raised by Ego, he didn't raise her. Like, she was more of a servant to kind of, like, ease his emotions.
Yeah, and that's a question I've had, and I forgot about that concern, but, you know how they showed all those, I'm not sure, should I even go into it, but I was wondering if she was actually related to...
Like, if she was, like, an actual sibling?
To Peter, yeah.
I feel like...
I
feel like if she was, she wouldn't be there without giving anything away.
Yeah, I guess.
Like, I can understand that he needs her to, like, control himself.
Yeah,
but I mean, at the same time, I kind of wonder if he would have experimented on her like he would have wanted to with Peter.
Yeah, I mean, because this was sort of fueled, too, by... this one scene where she's trying to inhibit Ego from getting to, you know what I mean, from
like trying to
and
basically sedate him.
She's got some sort of energy thing going on, and
yeah,
like what was going on there? Was that like, because I thought I thought her ability was just empathic, you know, and like I didn't know that she had the ability to do what she did there.
Well, yeah, because like the
strength. What was that? Just
because like the thing that connects to his brain, that was like, that led to it.
Yeah, like, but she had this. What was that energy even do?
I'm not entirely sure what it was. I know those are her powers in the comics, and the one thing I'll say about Mantis. The one thing I'll say about Mantis is that I kind of wish she was a little bit more of a physical character, because in the comics, I haven't read that many comics, but I know that she's like a really skilled martial artist and that she can kick a ton of major Marvel characters' asses, apparently. And who knows, in Infinity War, that takes place like years after this. She could have more training. She could go up more against the Avengers, which she'll kind of need to, because like she can't just stand around and like analyze what's going on, especially when it's like 4 years after.
And I mean, touching people is just not going to do it. You just kind of have to. I mean, but what exactly was that? Like, was that what do they call it? Like a psychic push? Well, I'm still.
All I know is that like it was a piece of Ego's brain, and that was really
that she was using, like
that she was grabbing onto.
Oh, because I thought she was pushing.
Like, no, she was sticking her arm through like this crack in the planet.
Okay, so I thought because the way I remembered it, the way I saw it was just that she was there was this blue aura that she was using to push.
I think that was there to start with. I think. That's really the best.
They didn't go into it. Maybe they will later. That's all. I guess.
Quite possibly. I mean, we know for a fact that there's going to be a third one, and they.
For sure. Yeah.
I don't know if I should say this, but like without giving anything away, one of the post-credit scenes, because all those rumors about there being 5 after-credit scenes, they weren't kidding about that.
Yeah.
And
it was crazy.
I'll just say this: most of them are just gags that couldn't have made it into the movie. Because, like, there is one where they kind of set up another team of characters that we haven't seen before yet. Like, one of them we have seen in this movie, and I won't give away who it is. But, like, in the news and in the media, they kept saying that he's, like, a major part in the MCU. But you wouldn't have guessed that without even knowing this information beforehand. And, like, I know that they kind of set up this original... Like, an original version of the Guardians, like the 60s comics... And some of those characters apparently were in that. But, like, I wouldn't have guessed.
Yeah.
And like I said, a couple bits are really just there for jokes and nothing else. Like, one of them works. There is a scene featuring Star-Lord and Groot in the after credits that...
oh my god. So good.
It does make you feel like there is a father-son thing between Groot and the other Guardians.
I thought... Yeah, okay.
Because, like, in this movie, you do see that, but it is mostly between Groot and Rocket. And it's kind of... And in the first film, it wasn't really that much different. Rocket was still in control of Groot, although Groot kind of had this college kid mentality. At least that's what James Gunn...
Throughout the movie, or...
Yeah, because, I mean... I know
he was a child throughout the movie. So.
In the first one, or this...
Oh, sorry.
Well, in the first one...
No, okay, right, you're going back.
In the first one, he does kind of have a college kid mentality, in my opinion, and in this one, he's just like a little kid.
Yeah, he's like a 6-year-old who, like,
is
really not, well...
Yeah, and, like, the first few bits with Baby Groot... I was sitting there wondering, why are they even bothering with these bits? Because, like, there are some funny moments, and, like... But it feeds into that thing where it's just, like, Vin Diesel is getting millions of bucks to say 3 words.
Oh, God. And you know what, though? Did they even bring him into the recording, like, studio? Or did they just
it was him. No, it was... They did get him in for a new session, because... I have absolutely no idea why, but I mean, the character of Groot is still there. Yes, he only says 3 words, but he still does have the personality of a child that we can identify with because we've been there. We have misunderstood what our parents are trying to tell us to do, and we've screwed up in some hilarious ways, some ways where you just want to strangle that person.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he does provide a little bit of the action. There is a really good moment where he gets revenge on a Ravager who messed him up really badly. Because, like, there are a couple creepy moments where, like, Groot gets teased, and it's just like, can this end? You know what I mean?
I was genuinely sad and scared for him.
Yeah, and like
I was
it
like,
works.
He doesn't deserve this. Please.
Yeah, and there are all these really extreme close-ups of the Ravagers just like laughing and screaming, and then
it was sort of
and then shot from a lower angle of Groot just like looking so sad, and it's just it's working. We feel for him.
It was a bit much for me. It was so much emotion.
And to be fair, he's not annoying like most kid characters in movies.
So much sadness for him.
Yeah. Like, you feel joy for him when he's smiling. He does...
Groot is everything.
He does provide...
He's just...
He does provide a use for the team near the end of the movie. Yeah. And it does work. So, yeah. If I really had any problem with the movie, it's that the subplots, while they are still interesting and they add to the characters, there is an uneven balance in, like, which of the two subplots matter most. At the beginning, you think that the Sovereign People are going to be the actual villains because they are chasing the Guardians and they cause them to crash land. But then they spend a lot of time with Yondu and the Ravagers and how it builds up to the mutiny. And it does lead to some really entertaining slapstick in a forest involving a lot of traps. Yeah, it looked like a live-action Looney Tunes cartoon in a good way.
There was a...
Yeah, because, like, at one point...
Gravity, like...
Sort of like Gravity, where they go like up and down and up and down.
It's just like
the fact that they
bouncy castle.
I'm just like, please repeat that, and then they did, and it's just like, well, yeah, because at first it was violent with like one trap where they just get a ton of tranquilizer darts, and I'm just sitting there like, wouldn't that kill them?
Holy shit!
I know they're aliens in that they don't have the same body as we do, but I mean,
but you know what? Yeah.
But yeah, there's. At first the Sovereign People, then Yondu and the Ravagers, and then there's like the main thing on basically Ego, because he is the planet. And like there's kind of an uneven balance, and there's one thing that I noticed that I didn't really... I feel like it's more of a nitpick than an actual flaw, but the fact that half the Guardians are in like one subplot and then the other half are in this other one, it's not necessarily bad, but I did want to see more of them interact with each other. I kind of wanted to see Peter and Yondu do more, because they had such really good moments. Some funny moments. You know what I'm talking about. Oh, one reference that Yondu does not get, and that might have been the funniest bit.
Oh my god.
Or it's just like, hey, you look like Mary Poppins. See, cool guy. Damn right he's a cool guy. I'm Mary Poppins, yo!
He's oblivious to
I don't know, it's just like there are characters that I wanted to see interact with a little bit more that they...
Yeah.
It's not that it necessarily needed to, but it would have been a little bit more fun. Like, my sister told me that she liked the first half of the movie more than the second half, and I feel like this kind of has something to do with it. Like, again, I would have liked to see Quill interact more with Yondu. I would have liked to see Peter interact a little bit more with Mantis, considering she spent a lot more time with his dad than he did. But then again, like, he didn't raise her, so I guess you don't really need to worry about that.
Yeah, I know. You know what? Yeah, I think you're right. We definitely could have went with, we definitely could have had interactions of certain characters that didn't get enough, together. Like Yondu and Peter there.
Yeah. But I mean, there is still moments that really hits you hard in terms of emotion.
Yeah.
And, like, there are a couple interactions that I feel like they did a little bit too much of, especially between Peter and Gamora, which, I gotta be honest, I really don't see the connection between the two of them. Because, I mean, like...
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I like that bit in the first film where they're kind of talking about their past, but then...
Yeah, and then you don't really see any sort of, intimate, or like, close, deep conversation like you did then. So it's sort of...
Yeah, because
it's sort
like...
of, it's sort of... You're not as easily, convinced in this one.
Yeah, because like in the first one, she even rejects him almost very violently. And then in this one, they're kind of just like really awkwardly trying to deny the fact that there's anything going on.
They really pushed the what was it, the sort of TV show scenario idea.
Yeah, they kind of make fun of how
I should say
how like there are two characters who don't say anything because basically if they did, they would lose a lot of ratings, and I don't really buy into that because like half the episodes in like one sitcom where you know they're in love but they just won't say it. It's just like, for God's sake, get on with it already.
That honestly pisses me off.
Because like growing up watching shows like even stupid shows like say Zack and Cody where there's like a romance between the two of them. That sort of works, and then they split apart, and it's just like, you know, at the very last episode, we know they're going to get together at the end, and surprise, surprise, they do.
Here's the thing, mostly the problem I think I mostly have with that sort of thing, I know I'm off on a tangent, but
that's fine.
It is
like
the
tangents.
fact that they seem to use a relationship, like, you know, dating like a girl or, you know, a new girl character on a show, or like a new guy, as the reason why the main character or somebody who's one of the main characters grows. And it's like, well, that's so cheap. It sort of feels cheap a lot for me. Like, it's like, oh, well, so the only reason why he can do this now, or how he behaves so much more mature and such, is just because he has a girlfriend.
Here's
one. Are you kidding me? Sometimes it's...
The best example I can think of is like in the original Disney Jungle Book, where the only reason Mowgli goes to the Man Village is because he sees some girl sing very nicely, and he follows her into the village. Like, she knows he's following her, and she wants him to, but at the same time, it's just like, wow, the only reason he went into the Man Village is because he hit puberty and achieved his first boner. Like, whatever he was wearing in that movie, that ain't gonna cover it up. So Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 has pretty much exactly what you liked about the first film, if you did like the first film anyways. A lot of vibrantly colored, very dazzling eye candy, a lot of really fun action sequences. The characters from the first film are just as funny and zany as ever, and the new characters also have a lot of really cool personality that makes you really get the feeling that they would work well together with the other Guardians. It is true that there is some uneven... It is a little bit uneven in terms of, like, the subplots or something, but I don't think it ruins anything. Yeah. Like, I feel like there are some critics out there who are kind of bitching and moaning about that and the fact that it isn't really as fresh, but I mean, when you look at the trailers, you know that this is going to be just like the first film, and if you really liked it, then you're definitely going to have a really good time with this one too. And for that reason, I'm going to give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 a 4 out of 5.
I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
That's pretty much the same as the 4 out of 5, so either way.
Yeah, right on.
Awesome. Guys, thanks as always for watching. Thank you once again, Caleb, for joining me in on this.
It's a pleasure.
It's weird how we've done like 2 movies together. Both are superhero movies.
Yeah.
Want to do Wonder Woman?
Yeah, man.
Cool. So, be sure to like, subscribe, check out my other reviews at NoPerfectMovie.com. Stay tuned this upcoming week. I'm going to be having a ton of videos coming up soon. My 100th video in which I talk about 10 of my favorite films. I'm also going to be having a special review for a movie that you probably haven't heard of, but I was asked personally by the filmmakers to review. So, thanks again for watching, and take care.